Okay, let's take a closer look at this little rocket stove here. And by the way, this stove measures, let's see here, just about 12 inches high. And diameter wise at the top of the cook part, it is about 9¼ inches high. And I believe some of the research I found on this, it weighs approximately 12 pounds. So it's not real heavy, but it's obviously not a backpacking stove. But it is a, like the name implies, kind of a survivor stove. And if you have a situation, an emergency, you're without power, you're without gas, but you do have some food and you have no way to cook it or boil water, what have you, this is the stove that's supposed to be a real lifesaver. Okay. This stove is pretty much all around the outside, and I'm not sure how well you can see this, but on the inside here, it is all stainless steel. So it's very well made. The top part here is a fairly thick cast iron cooktop, and it's big enough that you can put all sorts of different sized pots and everything. You've got some sheet metal. The rest of this is pretty much sheet metal. You have a little door right here. Let's pull out some other stuff here. Alright, okay, so on the inside you've got your burn chamber right in here. And this is double vented. Now, when this door is closed, you get ventilation all along these bottom part here and through here as well as here. But one reason that this stove is so efficient is that it is a double burning or combustion stove. So it burns your fuel, your what they call biomass, twice, and the hot gases and everything burn in the secondary part of it, and that really does help make it very efficient. Now, this is pretty much all assembled, with the exception of right here. We have a couple of handles because when you're using this, of course, the top gets hot and the sides will get hot. This gets hot, so you have to be careful you don't burn yourself. And these handles, which we'll put on here, this helps prevent a way to pick this thing up and move it if you have to when it's hot, so you don't end up burning yourself. Here we have, this is a little shelf for your fuel. Let's show that here. So this is kind of cool because this actually, when you're not using the stove, this can be stored right inside your stove here, and there you go. But if you're using this little tab here fits right in here very nicely. This provides you a nice little shelf so you can use this to feed in your fuel. And this, alright, so when you go to put these handles on, you want to have them in this fashion here. The idea is to have, once it's secured and tightened, the handle will actually stick out and won't be right up against the sides of this stove, because that's going to get hot once you get a fire going in here, which is one reason you got the handles. Now they kind of recommend you get these started with just kind of finger tighten, but we're going to put these on carefully, just with a couple of turns, as you see there, with a screwdriver, just enough to kind of get them started. Now you want to start with the top two. Get them in first, just hand tighten, and that'll line up the hole on the bottom for the third screw. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get this second screw in here. And again, we're just going to kind of hand tighten, or just a couple turns with the screwdriver. Now the third hole here is lined up, and we're going to go ahead and get that started. Let me turn this stove a little bit. Yeah, so this all lines up. And again, you want to start with these two, and then your third hole on the bottom here will line up. Okay, we just got that started. Okay, so we've got them all started, so now we're going to tighten these up. Okay, that's good and snug. So there you go. There's your handles. So that's the only assembly that's really required on. All right, so we're going to show you how relatively simple it is to get this stove going. And we'll be lighting it here for the first time. And we've torn just some newspaper, as you can see, in about 1 or 2 inch thin strips, and we'll be putting that in here. And this is our biomass that we're going to be using, and this consists of just some yard twigs and very small twigs, and the biggest pieces are probably maybe 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and they're maybe 10-12 inches long. But we're going to start out with this, and what we're going to be doing once we get the stove up and going is we're going to put a 12-quart or 3-gallon stock pot on the stove, and we're going to heat up 12 quarts or 3 gallons of water, and we'll take a timer and just see how long it takes to do it. But as you can see, this is not a whole lot of stuff. It's just little pieces of little twigs and very, very small branches that I just found in the yard, kind of broke them up. And we're going to see just if this is going to be enough to heat up a 12-quart 3 gallons of water in a stock pot. Alright, so again, we're going to take some of these very thin strips of paper that we cut up. We're just going to kind of loosely wad them up, as you see here. And we're going to put them in the burn chamber here. Now you can also put some of your strips of paper, in this case, load them in from the front or the top. Okay, now we're going to put in some of our small little twigs. I'm going to wear gloves because, and this is mostly mesquite that we have here, but we're going to just start putting some of it in here. Like a typical fire, a wood fire, you want to start off small to begin with, little kindling as it's called, and then work your way up to larger stuff. So this is what we're going to do when we load this thing. Okay, so there's looking inside. So that's what we have. We've just got some of those wadded up pieces of paper, some very small little twigs, basically. Very small little twigs to start off with. Okay, so I think we're all ready. We're going to go ahead and get this lit. And we're not using any other kinds of accelerants, no anything. See, that's going to get it going, I think. Alright, there's our stock pot with almost 3 gallons of water in it. It's just right up to the rim here. And we've got it on the stove. The stove is going good. So we're going to get our timer and time just how long it takes to get this nearly 3 gallons of water into a good roiling boil. So we're going to start our timer here. Okay, we've got our timer going, and we're going to see just how long it takes to heat up almost 3 gallons of water on the SilverFire Survivor rocket stove. Okay, so it has been just under 50 minutes, and I think we're at a good rolling boil right now, so we're going to check that real quick and see. Getting lots of steam coming off from the stock pot here. Still have a good fire going. And yes indeed, I'd say that's a good rolling boil. Now if you remember back what we started out with as far as our fuel, well, which wasn't very much, well, this is all we've got left. So it wasn't much, and we still got fuel. We could keep this fire going for a little bit longer, but we're going to let it burn down. But we're going to turn it upside down, dump all the ashes out, and show you just what all is left. Everything is cool to the touch. Very fine ash. So that's all that's left after heating up almost 3 gallons of water on the Survivor rocket stove, the SilverFire Survivor rocket stove. So I'm really impressed. It really doesn't take a whole lot of fuel, and it doesn't take a whole lot of big fuel. This piece here is maybe an inch in diameter at the most. A lot of it was in between smaller stuff like this, and anything that really kind of fit inside the chamber. I'm really impressed with this first burn, that it didn't take a whole lot of fuel. So my first impressions on the SilverFire rocket stove here, the Survivor, I'm very impressed with it. It works really great. Didn't use a whole lot of fuel. My overall impressions of this SilverFire Survivor rocket stove is very, very favorable. It's very well made, and I think it'll last a long time, and it's going to be very useful. Great to take camping, just cooking in the backyard, or if there's an emergency and your power and gas are off and you have no other way to heat water or cook food, I think this Survivor stove from SilverFire is really going to be useful, and I think I can very easily highly recommend it. Thanks for watching.